The Ambassador's Warning. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Conclave pierced the artificial atmosphere of Nexus Station like frozen lightning. Ambassador Serena Chen adjusted her diplomatic sash as her shuttle docked, the blue and green of Earth's emblem standing in stark contrast to the elaborate regalia of the core Alliance species streaming past her viewport. "Remember, Ambassador," her aide Marcus whispered, "we're walking into a chamber where humanity is seen as little more than upstarts. Stay calm." Serena nodded, her expression serene despite the knot in her stomach. 3 years of preparation had led to this moment. 3 years of careful diplomacy, of learning the intricate protocols of 100 different species, of crafting a proposal that could reshape the galaxy. The main chamber of the conclave was a testament to architectural arrogance. Floating platforms arranged in concentric circles created a clear hierarchy. The core Alliance members occupied the central rings, while newer species and subjugated worlds were relegated to the outer edges where the atmospheric processors barely functioned. As Serena took her assigned position, pointedly placed in the farthest ring, she could feel the weight of 1,000 eyes upon her. The Varkeni delegation, their crystalline forms refracting light in calculated patterns of disdain, occupy the highest platform. Below them, the militaristic Thrakari flexed their 4 arms in what passed for amusement among their kind. Supreme Coordinator Vexhai of the Varkani initiated the session with a gesture that sent ripples through the atmospheric shields. The Council recognizes the Earth delegation. The pause before Earth was deliberate, laden with contempt. Serena rose, activating her neural interface to ensure perfect translation across all species present. "Honored representatives, Earth comes before you with a proposal of mutual benefit. We offer not subjugation, not dominance, but partnership." Laughter, or its equivalent, rippled through the core species. The Thrakari war commander's mandibles clicked in derision. Serena continued, undeterred. "Our analysis shows that the current system benefits only 12% of member worlds. The remaining 88% exist in various states of economic exploitation or resource depletion. We propose a cooperative alliance, shared technology, mutual defense, and equitable resource distribution." She activated a holographic display, showing detailed projections. "Our models demonstrate that within 50 standard years, all member worlds could achieve technological parity. No more tribute systems, no more forced labor quotas, just cooperation." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Vexhai spoke, each word dripping with condescension. "The human assumes much. You've been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries. The core Alliance has maintained galactic order for millennia. Order built on oppression." Serena countered. "We've studied your history. Every great empire falls when it forgets that strength comes from unity, not domination. The Mengethi hierarch, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, pulsed with agitation. You dare lecture us. Your species still wars among itself. You've barely unified your own world, yet you presume to restructure the galaxy." "Because we've learned from our mistakes," Serena replied. "That's humanity's greatest strength. We adapt. We grow. We offer that same opportunity to every world here." War Commander Krex of the Thrakari stood, his massive frame casting shadows across 3 platforms. "Enough. This assembly wastes time on the delusions of primitives." He turned to the core representatives. "I motion for immediate dismissal." "Seconded," came voices from around the central ring. Vexhai's form brightened. "The motion carries. Ambassador Chen, your proposal is rejected. Furthermore, for the presumption displayed here today, Earth's diplomatic status is hereby revoked." Guards. 2 enforcer-class beings materialized beside Serena. She didn't resist as they gripped her arms, but her voice carried clearly through the chamber. "You're making a mistake. This isn't about Earth's pride. It's about the galaxy's future. Those you've oppressed won't remain silent forever. Remove her," Vexhai commanded. As the enforcers dragged her toward the exit, Serena spoke once more, Her words recorded by 100 different monitoring systems. We came in peace. Remember that. Remember that we offered partnership, and you chose domination. History will judge this moment. The chamber doors sealed behind her with finality. 6 hours later, in the outer system of Sigma Draconis, 2 Earth humanitarian vessels drifted on their scheduled route. The cargo ships Hope's Horizon and Mercy's Path carried medical supplies, food synthesizers, and educational databases, gifts intended for the struggling colonies of the outer reaches. Captain Sarah Chen, Serena's younger sister, monitored the approach to Kalos Station. Control, this is Earth vessel Hope's Horizon, requesting docking clearance for humanitarian supply drop. Static. Then, a harsh voice. Earth vessels, you are in violation of Council Directive 77-4. Your diplomatic status has been revoked. Surrender for inspection or face immediate termination. Sarah frowned. Control, we're unarmed humanitarian vessels. Our manifest was pre-approved by. The first plasma bolt tore through Hope's Horizon's hull without warning. The ship's atmosphere vented in a cloud of crystallizing vapor, spinning the vessel into an uncontrolled tumble. Sarah, came the panicked voice from Mercy's Path. We're being targeted. They're not even. The second vessel exploded in a brilliant flash, its quantum core breaching under direct fire. The attacking ships, sleek Core Alliance interceptors, made no attempt to rescue survivors. They simply recorded the destruction and jumped to hyperspace. But they'd made a crucial error. The emergency beacon on Hope's Horizon had transmitted everything. The unprovoked attack, the destruction of humanitarian aid, the cold execution of unarmed vessels. The signal propagated through quantum relays, reaching Earth in minutes. Within hours, the footage spread across human space. Then beyond. Pirate networks, black market traders, and rebel communication nodes picked up the transmission. In the darker corners of the galaxy, where Core Alliance control was weakest, beings watched humans die for the crime of offering food to the hungry. In those shadows, something stirred. 100 different species, 1,000 suppressed worlds, had seen this pattern before. But this time was different. This time, the victims had friends in unexpected places. The message that followed was simple, broadcast on every frequency, in every known language. We offered peace. You chose annihilation. You'll regret this war. It wasn't a government transmission. It came from Earth's military command, stripped of all diplomatic pretense. And across the galaxy, in mining colonies and factory worlds, in the depths of space stations, and the corridors of ancient ships, beings who had learned to recognize opportunity began to move. The Core Alliance had made a fatal assumption. They believed humanity stood alone. They were wrong. The periphery rises. The mining world of Kepler-7 had never seen rain. Its atmosphere, barely maintained by failing terraformers, could only produce a perpetual rust-colored haze that clung to the strip mining operations like a shroud. For 3 generations, the inhabitants, mostly displaced Corvithi, had carved precious metals from the planet's crust to feed the Core Alliance's endless appetite for resources. Overseer Thekval of the Thrakeri supervised the operation from his climate control tower, watching the workers through sensor feeds. Production had dropped 12% in the last cycle. Unacceptable. He reached for the punishment controls when his security chief burst through the door. Sir, unauthorized landing detected in Sector 7. No identification beacon. Thekval's mandibles clicked irritably. Smugglers. Destroy them. We can't get a weapons lock, sir. The ship's using some kind of scatter field, and it's already landed. In the depths of Mine Shaft 7 Alpha, 3 figures in unmarked combat armor met with a group of Corvathi workers. The humans removed their helmets, revealing scarred faces and calm eyes. I'm Commander Drake, the lead figure said. We're here to teach you something the Core Alliance doesn't want you to know. Old Gorith, the shaft supervisor, leaned on his drilling pike. And what's that? Human. Drake smiled grimly. How to fight back. Over the next week, the humans worked alongside the miners, but their lessons had nothing to do with ore extraction. They taught guerrilla tactics adapted for low-atmosphere environments. They showed how mining equipment could be weaponized, how the planet's natural cave systems could hide an army. More importantly, they shared intelligence, guard rotations, weapon specifications, weak points in Thrakeri combat armor. Why help us? Gorath asked one night, watching Drake inspect a modified drilling laser. Because 3 months ago, they murdered my sister. She was delivering medical supplies to colonies like yours. Drake's expression hardened. And because we know what it's like to be told you're not worthy of freedom. When the uprising began, it started with silence. The morning shift simply didn't report. When Thrakari guards investigated, they found the mine shafts empty. Then the explosions started. Mining charges, placed with surgical precision, brought down the refinery complex. The guards' barracks collapsed into a carefully prepared sinkhole. When reinforcements arrived from the tower, they found their vehicles' navigation systems corrupted, driving them into ambush after ambush. Thekval watched his command crumble through flickering security feeds. The Corvethi moved like ghosts through the haze, using the poor visibility that had always hindered them as a weapon. They knew every tunnel, every crevice, and they'd learned to turn their tools into instruments of liberation. By the time the sun set on Kepler-7's 70-hour day, the Thrakeri flag had been torn from the Overseer's tower. In its place flew a simple black banner with 5 words in Galactic Standard. "You'll regret this war." The pattern repeated across the outer reaches. On the agricultural world of Verdani, human advisors taught farmers how to modify crop dusters into chemical weapons platforms. In the shipyards of Nexus Delta, workers learned to install hidden overrides in the warships they built for their oppressors. Each uprising was different, tailored to the specific conditions and species involved. But they all shared common elements: careful preparation, exploitation of local knowledge, and the transformation of work tools into weapons of revolution. The Core Alliance response was predictable: massive retaliation, collective punishment, broadcast executions. But for every world they pacified, 3 more rose up. Their supply lines began to strain. Military units found themselves isolated, surrounded by hostile populations that had lost their fear. On the ice moon of Tyrannus, a Varkani processing station fell to a workers' revolt led by the insectoid Keelathi. The station's defensive systems had been sabotaged months in advance by human technical advisors who taught the Keelathi how to exploit crystalline harmonics to shatter Varkani control nodes. The water world of Hydros saw its first successful naval engagement in centuries as native Aquarid forces, trained in submarine warfare by human specialists, sank 3 Core Alliance patrol vessels using nothing but modified fishing equipment and precise knowledge of deep-sea currents. In the asteroid belts of the Corollas system, mining families who'd been scattered across 1,000 rocks came together in the first Free Fleet. Jury-rigged mining vessels and cargo haulers fitted with mass drivers and trained in wolfpack tactics by human void warfare experts. But the most significant victory came from an unexpected source: the Sakari, a minor species known primarily for their linguistic abilities, had served as translators and communication specialists throughout Core Alliance space. When they rose up, they didn't use weapons. They used words. Every secure communication node, every diplomatic channel, every military frequency was suddenly compromised. Alliance commanders found their orders mistranslated, their intelligence reports corrupted, their strategic planning sessions broadcast to rebel forces. The Sakari Linguistic Rebellion, as it came to be known, turned the Alliance's greatest strength, its vast communication network, into its greatest vulnerability. Admiral Krex of the Thrakeri summoned his war council as reports of fresh uprisings flooded his command center. The star map before him showed a galaxy on fire. Red markers indicating rebel activity outnumbered loyal systems 3-1. "How?" he demanded, slamming a fist on the tactical display. They're primitives, mining slaves, agricultural workers. How are they defeating trained warriors? His intelligence officer, a nervous Mengethi, pulsed uncertainly. The humans, sir, they're not fighting directly. They're teaching, training, sharing knowledge we've kept suppressed for millennia. Then we crush Earth. Krex roared. End the source, end the rebellion. With what fleet, sir? The officer asked quietly. Third Fleet is trapped in the Vega sector. Fifth and Seventh are dealing with uprisings in their home systems. Ninth Fleet refuses to leave Thrakeri space for fear of domestic rebellion. The room fell silent. The unthinkable had become reality. The mighty Core Alliance military machine was paralyzed, not by external invasion, but by internal collapse. It was Vexai who called for the emergency summit. The Supreme Coordinator's crystalline form had lost much of its luster, stress fractures visible in what passed for his face. The message to Earth was brief. Terms requested. Neutral location. Immediate response required. The human response came 12 hours later, not from Earth's diplomatic corps, but from General Marcus Chen, brother to the murdered captain, husband to the expelled ambassador. His face appeared on screens across the galaxy, broadcast through the same rebel networks that had spread news of humanity's initial offer. You had your chance for terms, he said simply. We offered partnership. You chose domination. You answered peace with murder. Now you'll have what you created, a galaxy that no longer fears you. The transmission ended with a single image. The black banner now flying over 100 worlds, the words that had become a prophecy fulfilled. You'll regret this war. On Earth, in a secured bunker beneath Cheyenne Mountain, military leaders and civilian advisors gathered around Serena Chen. She looked older now, the weight of unleashed revolution heavy on her shoulders. Did we go too far? She asked quietly. Marcus took her hand. They made their choice. We just showed the galaxy there was another option. And now, he gestured to the screens showing feed after feed of liberated worlds, of species standing together who had never known anything but submission. Now we see if the galaxy can build something better from the ashes. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the affairs of lesser beings. But in the space between those stars, along trade routes and shipping lanes, around space stations and colony worlds, the old order crumbled. What would replace it remained to be seen. But one thing was certain, the age of the Core Alliance was over. The periphery had risen, and at the center of it all, a small blue world that had dared to say no to an empire continued its quiet revolution. The message had been sent, the warning had been given. And across the galaxy, beings who had lived in chains for generations looked up at strange new stars and whispered 5 words that had changed everything. You'll regret this war. Indeed they did.